So welcome everybody to our continuation of the Taittareeya classes. Thank you so much, Bindaji. Also, thank you, Prasad, for being an admin in this house and being with us on the panel often and when you can, occasionally opening rooms yourself. So we're really grateful to have you. Bindaji, please go ahead and give us the class for today.
Thank you, Atmisha. Thank you, Prasad. Welcome all to the 48th session of Taittareeya Upanishad. The invocation. Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrabhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Adayam Karunadayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loga Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। तैत्तिरीय second chapter शान्ति मन्त्रम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Section 9 of the second chapter. यतो वाचो निवर्तन्ते अप्राप्य मनसा सह आनन्दं ब्रह्मणो विद्वान् न बिभेति कुतश्चनेति एतहं ववाव न तत्पति किमहं साधुना करवम् किमहं पापमकरवमिति स य एवं विद्वानेते आत्मानः स्पृणुते उभेह्य वैष एते आत्मानः स्पृणुते य एवं वेद इत्युपनिषत्. So, we were discussing on the first two sentences. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Here, in the last class, we discussed about the reason why the Upanishad is mentioning it as why it is not possible for both the mind and the words, means perception, apprehension, as well as names, forms or description of Brahman is not possible. To just recap, the Upanishad is a pramana or a valid means of knowledge for us to know the Brahman or Atman, which is never being taught in our any other study process. So the only place where we come to know about this esoterical aspect of our own being, of Atman, Brahman, is only in the Upanishads. While the Upanishad is also a valid means of knowledge, like all other knowledge, it has got its own limitation. Even though it is describing the indescribable, the limitation of the Upanishad lies in the incapacity of the object to be brought under the perceivable range for our sense organs and the mind. It is not that Upanishad is not making an attempt or is not capable of doing it. It is just like the space. The space can be described by depending upon the objects in which on objects which appear in the space, but without any object or without any what you call means where we can show that this one exclusively is what is space. We cannot show it because that is the nature of space. But when objects come in it, we can define the space as occupied by this object which has got a name and form. Let it be a classroom or a football ground or interstellar spaces or between the planets, etc. But if none of them are present there, the space becomes indefinable or cannot be defined with any other means. But here is something which is subtler than the space, where it is prior to the space. Tasmat etasmat atmana akasha sambhudaha. So the space appears in Atman. While every other object appears in space, the space appears in Atman or the Brahman. Now, when space itself is indescribable without things occupying, how do we describe Atman or Brahman? This nature of Atman or Brahman, because there are two reasons for it. One, it is the source or it is from where the space has come out, but also it is that in which the space itself is dependent upon. Not only that, the space, even though it is one and the only one, without a dual, but being a matter, there is some aspect of quality for space which is considered to be, as per the Indian philosophical system, that it has got sound as the quality. Because any communication, if it is taking place, it is showing that there is space available. Let it be sound or electromagnetic or any other communication which is being sound. So here the sound doesn't mean the sound which we hear by the ears alone. It is a sound as a means of communication. We call it as tanmatra, or the very fundamental reality of sound. But in the case of Atman or Brahman, being without any quality, it becomes even further difficult for us to describe it. And when it comes to Atman or Brahman, there is only one. There is no second one. And it is without any quality. Therefore, the Upanishad had to give a statement not to say that it is not possible for us to describe it, but for the student to understand and remove the chances of a misapprehension of objectifying Atman or Brahman in one way or the other. The purpose of the Upanishad is not to dissuade us, but to make us understand that don't go and get into a sort of misapprehension about the nature of Brahman. Because this chapter itself started with Satya Jnanam Anandam Brahma as the Lakshyartha of Brahman. When Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam, all the three is applicable to anything which is possible, that is what is Brahman. Independently, the words Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam are words which can describe things. Sorry. So, when we know that Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam, Brahma, we may have a tendency for us to bring in ideas or imagination about Satyam separately, Jnanam separately, and Anandam separately, and then say that that is Brahman. So to avoid that, the Upanishad is using the word Satya, Jnanam, Anandam applicable together, not individually. But here also, there is another aspect which we should keep it in mind. The aspect of knowledge. The Upanishad in the Brihadaranya says that Yat Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma. Aparokshat, the word is another word for pratyaksha or immediate perception. But here, aparoksha is to indicate that which is not through the sense organs, but the presence of which is immediate and known by oneself. That is for sakshat. The word sakshat means akshana saha, means with the sense organs. Which sense organs? Mean the mind as the sense organ is what is being considered there. It is immediately felt in the mind, not objectified, not perceived with the five sensory inputs. At the same time, the presence of it cannot be negated. When the Upanishad says that, we may run into issues of Ajnana Samshaya Viparya and get into a imaginary Brahman. Because we are only used to knowledge which is supported by objects. Objects doesn't mean the physical objects. It can be mental, intellectual, emotions, feelings, thoughts, physical objects, qualities with the five sensory inputs, etc. So for the Upanishad, one side when it is defining the possibility of knowing ourselves, it also wants us to not get caught up in the avidya karyam or the result of an ignorant potency of the mind to imagine it as an object or an experience. Even the word presence is a word which, if not understood in the proper sense, will make one feel that in the presence of something. No, it is not in the presence of something. the very presence with which you feel you exist, but at the same time not as what you think you are. That aspect is very difficult for the Upanishad to put it in straight sentences. Therefore, it had to depend upon a word like yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha, where the words fail or the words along with the mind return without apprehension, without description, or without conceiving it as any object. Even though mind is the place where the knowledge takes place. The moment we hear about Atman or Brahman, the knowledge has already happened, because the mind has the potency to grasp the knowledge the moment it is heard. When the teacher or the Upanishad says about Atman or Brahman, mind already has conceived it. The knowledge of Atman or Brahman is there with all of us now. But what happens is that depending upon the quality of the mind each one of us are having, there is a potency for the mind to drag us into Ajnana Samshaya Viparya, like the ignorance, doubt, and misconception, or the wrong conception of what Brahman is. Only a mind which is clean of these three, this presence of the Atman or Brahman is felt. Otherwise, the words will have impact as a knowledge, but it will be taken or covered by the Ajnana Samshaya Viparya. And we will think that it is the I feeling which we have in us, even in our deep sleep. That is Atman or Brahman, but it is not. The I-ness, which many people think that I know that I am, in the deep sleep, they think that it is Atman or Brahman. That is the most hardest viparya, or the wrong conception which we have, which is very difficult to eradicate. Because if we have to eradicate that, we have to eliminate ourselves. Atmahanaha, the word used by the Upanishad is Atmahanaha. We heard this in the Ishavasya Upanishad. The Atmahana or Atmahatya is a suicidal act of the ego, because the I amness which we feel in the deep sleep, and when we wake up, that makes a virtual image which we think that is what we are. And then we associate with the mind, the physical body, etc., etc. And then associated with that physical body, the objects which are belonging to it, related to it, everything, the whole world is created. So the whole thing starts from that Atma, or that primordial ego. You cannot call it as an ego, or it should be better to call it as an individuality, the sense of individuality. Only when that is eliminated or annihilated, the presence of Atman or Brahman will be felt as truly ourselves. And that feeling or that experience, Yat Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma, that experience, Aparoksha Sakshatkara, that is the one which will make us feel that everything is, there is nothing but I am the only one which is, it is not the I of the ego, but that of the Atma or Brahman, which we say that Atma Hanaha is the ego elimination. After that, what is remaining is the Brahman Atman, not the ego Atman. Even though Sanskrit uses the word Atman for all the areas, it is different in the different context. So what happens is that when we associate ourselves dissociating from the individuality, that is why it is called Brahman, is because there is only one at that time. There is no two. Na dvitiyam asti. Sa ekaha. Many places Upanishads have used different languages to communicate that. That is only one, where there is no second. Advitiyam. Avyavaharyam. All those words, different words are used by Upanishads. But the intended meaning is that in that where there is nothing other than that is any activity, any knowing, any being, any sort of activity. So the verbs have no place there. When the verbs have no place, the karakas also no place. Karaka means related to the verb or related to the noun. Anything which can be brought it as a doer or causation, substratum, or any of those nature is not possible. When this being the state or the reality, there words do not function. And when the words are not there, mind becomes blank. Because mind has no potency to operate without words. Because the mind existence itself is depending upon the words. Without a word, even meditation is not possible. Even though it is said that chitta vritti nirodha in the meditation, there the chitta is talking about the knowledge in the forms of thoughts, and thoughts need content, and contents are known in the mind only through words. So when that is to be done, the first one, what it bring is to bring it down to one ekatanata, or one thought. But that thought also still is in the mind. But when the words disappear from that thought, the mind becomes no mind, amani bhava. What happens is that the gap between one word to another word is what is being observed, or one thought to another thought. There the being is there, but the one who is observing it is not dissipated or annihilated. So, even there is a limitation. When we totally negate or discard or annihilate the ego or the individuality, that happens to us naturally in our deep sleep, not intended by us, because the intent and the expectation and the activity, everything is in the waking or the dream. There is no activity, no intent, or nothing is there. Not even knowing. Because in the deep sleep, if the knowing takes place, it becomes waking or dream. The only place where knowing doesn't take place, yet when we are alive, is in the deep sleep. So the knowing also is not the knowing, the type of knowing through the mind. That is why it is waking or dream. But there is a state of pure awareness, but not knowing. A awareness without knowing. An awareness in which there is no content. An awareness where there is no knower behind it, nor known in front of it. So the Triputi, the knower, known, and the knowing is absent in that place. To indicate that is the aprapya manasasaha. Aprapya means anabhidhanat, without apprehension. Because there is nothing to apprehend. The apprehending one and the apprehender, both being one and the same, there cannot be an apprehension there. No awareness with a content there. So, when the Upanishad said, Yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha, in the last class we said that, Yatracha vijnanam tatra vacha pravritti. That means where the knowing takes place in the mind, tatra vacha pravritti. It is due to the work of words. Tasmat saha eva vangmanayoho abhidhana pratiyoho pravrittihi sarvatra. Abhidhana means nomenclature. Vangmanayoho, both words and the mind together, saha eva, in togetherness. Pravritti means activity is what is called every word that is there. The only place where the words and mind do not operate. At the same time, there is no activity, no knowing. Even the word being is not an activity, but it is a status or the, what you call, we can say that avastha or the reality. Satyam. Satya avastha. That is what is that thing. Tasmat Brahma Prakashanaya Sarvata Prayoptribihi Prayujyamane Api Vachaha Yasmat Apratyaya Vishayad Anabhidheyat Adrisya Adi Visheshanad Saha Eva Manasa Vijnanena Sarva Prakashana Samarthena Nivartande. So what is the Nivartande? Where they return back? Sarva Prakashana Samarthena. Sarva Prakashana Prakashana Samarthena. The potency, Samarthyam, Sarva Prakashana, illumining everything. With what? Vijnanena, through the knowledge. Where? Manasa Saha Eva, along with the mind. When it is being, released of the potency to illumine anything, that is what is happening when the mind and the words return. So, Tasmat Brahma Prakashanaya Sarvata. So, to illumine Brahman, the possibility for the mind and the word doesn't happen. Sarvada Prayuktribihi Prayujyamane Api. Even though both the mind and the word has the potency to utilize both of them together, Brahman is, in the Atman or Brahman's case, it is not functioning or it is not possible. Yasmat, because Tasmat Yasmat, Apratyaya Vishayat, there is no content for the nomenclature or the words. Anavidheyat, because there is no specific nomenclature or anything which can be used. Even the word Brahman or Atman is not operational at that level. It is operational when we have the mind and the words in function. But when we go beyond the word and the mind and the thing, even the Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi, all these words becomes no help for us. Tam Brahmana Anandam Shrotriya Avrajinasya Akamahatasya Sarva Eshana Vinirmuktasya Atmabodham Vishaya Vishayi Sambandha Nirmuktam Swabhavikam Nityam Avibhaktam Anyad Vastwandaram Asti Bhinnam Yato Vivedi. No, Vibhaktam Paramanandam Brahmano Vidwan Yadoktena Vidhina Na Vivedi Kutasana. I just mixed up the lines. Sorry. Tam Brahmana Anandam Shrotriya Avrajinasya Akamahadatya Sarveshana Vinirmuktasya. So that definitions, Shrotriyasya. Who is a Shrotriya? Avrajinaha, without any papas. Akamahatasya, who has not been killed by or who is not been subdued by any desires. Sarva Eshana Vinirmuktasya, freed from all types of attachment. Atma Bhudam, residing in oneself. That is the Anandam. That is the happiness. Brahmana Anandam, of the happiness of the Brahman, or the nature of Anandan, Brahman as Anandam. What type of a thing? Vishaya Vishayi Sambandha Vinirmuktam. That is a place where there is no subject-object separate. There is nothing called subject, nothing called object. There is no sambandha also. There is no way you can connect between the subject and the object. All type of bandha means joining or coming together of the subject and object. Sarva bandha vinirmuktam means freed from that. But at the same time, it is not a non-existent shunyata. It is swabhavikam. It is a natural state. Nityam avibhaktam. It is eternal and doesn't have any parts. Vibhaktam, avibhaktam. Avibhaktam means without any divisions. Paramanandam, Brahmanaha. That is the elixir or the happiness, Paramanandam, of Vidwan, one who has known, one who has... See, the word Vidwan again will give us a wrong conception, not misconception. Vidwan means one who knows. Vid, jnane is the word. Vidwan, one who knows. So here the word one who knows has to be used because there is no other way words can be used. Even though it cannot be known, the word has to be used as Vidwan. What way? Yeda uktena vidina na bibedi kutaschana. Now here is the place where na bibedi kutaschana is coming again. We heard that before, but here in this mantra also it is coming. That individual who now knows that it is beyond the words and the mind, yet it is swabhavigam, it is natural state of mind. Nityam, which means that whatever is changing in me is not that. That eternity in me. Avibhaktam, without any separation. No way I can be separated from that. The I is not the individual ego I, but my nature. I cannot be taken out of my nature. My nature will be there with me all the time. The nature of the fire can be never seen anywhere where there is no fire. If you are having heat or light, it is a nature that the fire is there present. We may call it as light separately, we may call it as heat separately, but wherever there is heat and light, these two indicate that it is the nature of fire in either of the forms. That is what is called avibhaktam. Avibhaktam means inseparable from my own nature. What is that? Nityam, eternity. That eternal nature of my being in myself is present irrespective of whether I am in the deep sleep, waking or dream. I, not the individualized ego, I, the Atman or Brahman, is present there. Who knows this? Srotriya, one who knows this from the Shastra. Avrajinaha, who has no papa in him. Why the word papa is used here, Avrajinaha? Because it is being discussed in the later part of it. Akamahatasya, one who has not been killed by the desires. Sarva Eshana Vinimukta, who is also being freed from all the desires. Why such a person is na bibeti kutaschana? He has no fear whatsoever. Kutaschana means whatsoever. Condition it is. Na bibeti, has no fear. The reason is nimitta abhavat. Because there is no cause for him to be afraid from. The cause of fear comes from the otherness. Udaram andaram gurude atatasya bhayam bhavati. Where there is no otherness, how can there be fear? A fear of limitation, a fear of challenging my eternity, a fear of my nature being shared or dissected or used by something else. None of the thing like there is a Vishaya-Vishayi Sambandha. I become the subject and the other thing become an object. There is no I and the otherness in that thing. When these type of otherness is not there, that is the state what is called Paramanandam or the extreme bliss, because where there is no bhaya, there is no fear. Nahi tasmad vidushaha anyad vastvandaram asti bhinnam yado bibeti. Tasmad vidushaha. Vidushaha again from the word vid, vijnane. Vidushaha means vijnani or jnani. He doesn't have a fear. Na bibeti. Nahi bibeti. Because na anyad vastvandaram asti bhinnam. Separate from that being which is swabhavigam nityam avivaktam. That nature of the self. Do not perceive anything separate from me. Now, vastvandaram, anyad vastvandaram. Anything other than itself. This is exactly what I keep on repeating, that yatra nanya pasyadi anya shrunodi anyad vijanadi sabhumaha. That state of oneness, ekatvam anuvasyata, where there is nothing vastvandaram different. Vastvandaram means another thing other than that. Therefore, na bibedi. There is nothing to fear for him. Avidyaya yada udaram andaram kurute ata tasya bhayam bhavati iti yuktam. Now we should know na bibedi kutasyana means idaram andaram kurute, even an iota of differentiation we make in ourselves. Therefore, there can be fear is a statement which is valid by the Upanishad. Vidushascha avidya karyasya taimiriga drishta dvidiya chandravat nashad bhaya nimittasya na bibeti kutaschana iti yujyate. Vidushascha. Here is the jnani again. Vidusha means jnani. Avidya karyasya taimiriga drishta dvidiya chandravat. Like the person who has got cataract, he knows that his second moon is not a reality, yet he is knowing that there is a second moon being perceived by him, which has no reality. Na vastu andaram asti. There is no second moon there. If why here is saying avidyaya, we are seeing otherness in our waking and dream due to this ignorance. And that avidya is the reason why we are having the individual and the world separate. So when this is known that it is not a reality, the dependency, if it is on an unreal thing, you need not be afraid of it, even though you may perceive it. The reality of water in a desert where there cannot be a water, and you see a mirage, you will not be tempted by the water. You will not be afraid of a snake, which is not really depending upon a snake, but the dependency is on the rope. Even though you may see a ghost knowing very well it is a post, the fear from the ghost is not justified or valid. That doesn't mean you may not see the ghost, you may not see the snake, you may not see the water in a mirage. These appearances may, for a second, even for a fraction of a second, can delude you, but immediately you know that it is not real. This getting back to our equilibrium, even when the world is fooling us, we do not become victims of the fooling nature of the world, taking it to be separate and real. The names and forms, like the mud and the mud pot, the gold and the ornament, the water and the waves, etc. All those things are appearances. We will never be fooled by these appearances. We know what is the reality behind that. So, when the second moon is being perceived by the one who has got a cataract, he is not fooled by the second moon. He knows why he is able to see the second moon is because of his cataract. Manomayecha udahritah mantraha manaso brahma vijnana sadhanatvad. Here is an important aspect. Manomaye, in the mind, when it is mind alone. Udahrita mantra, the above quoted mantra, yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha, is also saying to us, manaso brahma vijnana sadhanatvad. When the words are not operating and the mind, which is not dependent on the words, that is what is the manomaya. This maya word, mayat pratyaya, is to indicate 100% of that. Swarnamaya means 100% swarnam, means gold. Like that, manomaya word is used here when it has to be understood when it is said that it becomes the same mind where there is no dependency for the words or nomenclature or any sort of that. The same mind becomes sadhanam or an instrument for Brahma Vijnanam, for knowing the Brahman. Please understand very carefully, because Manasa Vijijnasa Swa, words are used by Upanishad itself. Achintyam avyavaharyam ekatma pratyasaram prapanchopashamam shandam shivam advaitam amrutam chaturtam manyante sa atma sa vitneyaha. The word sa atma sa vitneyaha. Manasa vijijnasasva. Yasachad avarokshat brahma. Many places mind is being used for knowing Brahman. Which type of a mind? Yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha. That saha word of mind along with the word is the catch. When the mind is freed from the nomenclatures, names and forms and imaginations and ideations, etc., the same mind becomes Brahma Vijnana Sadhanam. the instrument to know the swabhavika nature, the swabhava. Because it has to be there. Otherwise, how will we know? Is it somewhere else? How can we say we are Brahman or Atman? We know ourselves because we know everything through the mind. And when the mind is having the Ajnana Samshaya Viparya, that is not a Brahma Vijnana Sadhanam. It is not an instrument to know Brahman or Atman. But the same mind, when removed of Ajnana with Samshaya Viparya, is also, because Ajnana, Samshaya and Viparya depends upon the words. The dependency on the Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa is only a exemplified way in telling that. Any type of imagination or knowledge other than the purity of mind. In a pure mind where there is no words, no imagination, no names and forms, it is in that the Atman or Brahman shines. And because of that, when camouflaged or colluded or clouded by words and names and forms, then we become caught by the avidya or the misconception or wrong conception, imagination, doubt, etc. We are Brahman even in that time, because mind, pure mind is the place where Brahman or Atma Jnana is there. Yet, we do not see that because our dependency on the word and the names and forms and nomenclature, etc., for the mind to function. A non-functional mind without words and names and forms is like a pond with crystal clear water and no waves. It can show the bottom as clear as anything. But the same pond, when it is covered with the green algae, you will never be able to see the pond bottom. Even though water is crystal clear. You may put a stone, for a momentary flash, you may see the purity of water, but before you see the bottom of the pond, the green algae will cover again. So you may see the purity of water, that is the purity of the mind. So all the experiences which we talk about, spiritual experiences and everything, is the purity of the water, not the nature of the clear bottom. For that, the algae should not be there on the top of the water. Only when the mind becomes manomaya becomes only pure mind where there is no words and names and nomenclature or any sort of imagination possible there. Only in that mind, the Atman or Brahman will be shining. Tatra brahmatvam adhyaropya tad vastvatyartam na bibedi kadachana iti bayamatram pradishiddham. Iha advaita vishaye na bibedi kutasyaneti bayanimittam eva pradishidyate. So, in that mind, please understand that, in that mind where words, nomenclatures, ideation, imagination, nothing is there, only in that mind the state of fearlessness can be expected. Because the moment the words, nomenclature, everything comes, the otherness is also will be a part of it. Because the words, nomenclature, ideation is about otherness, not about the pure mind. Because the pure mind doesn't need anything else to know itself. But when the operation of these words and nomenclature, everything operates, the otherness is inevitable. And in that otherness, we will have fear. So, in the Nabivedi Kutaschana, there is no fear to that person who has 100% pure mind, without words, nomenclature, ideation, imagination, etc., etc., etc. Is it possible? It is very much possible, because every day we are experiencing that. The moment the names and forms and the words, everything comes, we will be either in waking or dream. But when the words, nomenclature, ideation, and nothing is there, we are in our own mind. That is why we are able to say nothing was experienced, nothing was known. Ekatvam anupashyata. We knew only oneness there. There was no two there. If there had been a two, we would have known it and it would have become waking or dream. In the absence of that is the state what is being said as abhayam pratishtha, the state of fearlessness, because there is no otherness there. The word abhayam is not the fear what we experience in our waking or dream. That's all fear of losing our individuality or our ideation of ourselves as individuals. The bhayam which the Upanishad talks about in that mind, where there is no word, no nomenclature, no ideation, nothing of that sort is from even an iota of second feeling coming in that. If it is there, then you are not 100% pure mind. You are not experiencing the Paramananda, the pure bliss. You are not experiencing the Brahma. You are not knowing the Brahman or Atman. Because if it is there anything, even a dust, even an iota, even if an atomic particle of otherness is there, then we are not in our nature, swabhavika nature, or swabhava. Only in that we can be called nityam and avibhaktam. That is our eternal nature, where there is no bifurcation, no division, no otherness. Only when we know that, for that we have to do the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana of the Upanishadic words and divide us from the words dependency on the nomenclatures, imaginations, forms, etc. Release our mind from these things. Then you don't have to know yourself. You will be that, because you are that even this very moment. Because our dependency for the words and etc., we are colluded, camouflaged, clouded, and not knowing our own true nature. Therefore, this statement, yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha, anandam brahmano vidwan na vivedi kutaschana, katachit. That aspect is what the Upanishad has completed till now. We will proceed with the rest of the mantras in the Friday's class. I intend to complete this second chapter by next Friday's class, so that we can move to the third chapter. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you, Bendaji. Again, I feel like saying thank you is very trite compared to what I'd like to say. I will say, at least, well, what I'm going to say could be partly a result of my ability to listen. But for me, this was the most complete, freest communication in any of your classes that I've heard. It was so free of intermediary stories that are often fruitfully used to guide the listener. It was very complete in so many ways. Anyone who did not hear the class from the very start, I most highly recommend it. Anyone is free. I assume it's open now. No, it's not. Let me open the hand raising. And in a moment, when I have a moment, I'll open the chat. But hand raising is open. And, although I could say more, I couldn't, say enough thank you to you, Bindaji, for finding a way to communicate this to us. Anyone who would like, please come up, raise your hand.
So Binduji, for all of us, so technically from the Advaitic standpoint, how would you define purity of mind? Chitta Shuddhi. Ekagrata, probably another time, but Chitta Shuddhi, according to this context that you just described about Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasasaha. You gave the example of the lake, you gave the example of the stone. But to reiterate that, could you please, like very succinctly, just put phrases into what would mean by Chitta Shuddhi?
Here it is not Chitta Shuddhi. It is Manomayatvam. Chitta Shuddhi is different. Manomayatvam is different. Chitta Shuddhi is the potency for the intellect, the logical intellect, to drive us towards a fixation. Whereas here, there is nothing to be fixed. It is to be freed from all contaminations or ideations. So, it is two different things which we are talking about. If I don't know whether you got the meaning.
Yes, Bindoji. So why do we call it? So removal of contamination generally in Advaita is basically the eradication of perception, obsession of perception through name and form. So that's why, because you use the word contamination, removal of contamination, I assumed that that would be the perspective of Chitta Shuddhi. Then why do we use the word Manomayatvam? Like, what is that got to do with this, Bindoji?
Manomayatvam is the potency of our very being to abide in ourselves without having any sort of otherness in it. Whereas Chitta Shuddhi is more a swatik mode where we eliminate the negative tendencies, etc., and to drive more towards the concentration, and where the manana will be helped. Even manana nididhyasana is in the realm of duality. Here is the manomayatvam, or the purity of the pure mind nature, which is even beyond the nididhyasana level. You are not even doing the nididhyasana. You have your nididhyasana terminates beyond that level of even nididhyasana when you become 100% without any second experience other than all our own being.
That would
That
be
is what,
it.
pardon?
Sorry, Binduji. Please go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, Binduji.
That nature in which there is no thought.
Correct. Yes. Okay.
There are no thoughts. There are
Right.
no words.
Yes,
It
Binduji.
is, that is the only place where we are in our deep sleep. There
Correct.
are no thoughts, no being, no identity, no individuality, nothing. Yet, that even for a momentary deep sleep you are rejuvenated. Or you feel that you have had a blissful sleep. That sleep is not the blissful, it's an example which we are using. But that of Brahman or Atman or our true nature is, which words also cannot explain it. So if I am using that there is no thought, I should be keeping my mouth shut, and because I can't explain it. It is beyond explanation. One has to know it in the mind, which is 100% mind, not with any thoughts. In the purity of the mind, it shines by itself.
Well, that's fine, Binduji. That was helpful. But Binduji, why is the word coined as manomayatvam? Why is that word coined?
Because it is only in the mind that can be experienced.
Okay.
Because you are that, but you cannot experience that.
Okay.
Right? But at the same time, the Shastra cannot be wrong. The Upanishad cannot be wrong. Manasa vijiknasasva, then, Yetsachata Parokshat Brahma. All those statements has validity because those who have known it, those who have experienced it, are the one who have made these statements.
Right.
But we should not be putting our ideation, imagination to it and say that it is like 1,000 suns or honey flowing through the head of from the top to bottom of my head, or it's a peace, it's love. All these words are within the thoughts. What love we are talking about is no more love, because love failed to acknowledge as love in that level. The peace fails to acknowledge as peace in that level. So what we are talking about is the only way which we can say is that where there is nothing else other than that one thing.
So, okay. So what you're saying, Binduji, is that it is known through the mind alone. That is why it's called manomayatvam, but it's not known in the objective sense of it. Right, Binduji?
Yeah, there is no objectification. Because
Right.
Vishaya Vishayi Sambandha Vinirmuktam is the word used by the Upanishad. The subject-object and the conjoining of the subject-object, all these three are abandoned at that level.
Right.
There is not even a subject there. There is not even a subject. Mind is not a subject there.
Correct. Yes. So basically, if a word we have to use, of course, it's the wrong word to use, but the word we have to use is nothing, but not exactly when we say nothing, because there is no subject and the object phenomenon, right?
See that again, Prasad, the problem will when we use the word nothing
Correct.
is we are using a word for absence of something.
Correct. Yes.
It is not absence of something.
Correct.
It is the fullness of one thing.
Yes.
Only one thing is there, and the fullness of that is what is to be taken.
Right. Correct, Binduji. And so this word, right, Binduji, this is Manomayatvam is in Shankara Bhashya.
Yes, it's in Shankara Bhashya.
So, is there, so as we understood, as I try to understand what Manomayatvam is when you try to use it, so is there something called Vijnanamayatvam, Pranamayatvam? Is there something, or this is just exclusive? Manomayatvam is the state of
No.
abidance.
See, the
Okay.
Tvam Pratyaya is a
Right.
suffix which is added to show the entirety of itself. Say
Yes.
Swarnamayam, when I am saying Swarnamayam,
Correct.
it is only Swarnam is there, nothing else. It
Right.
is not even 99.9999. No, it is
Mm.
100% Swarna, gold.
Mm. 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 So there is
There's a
no other.
Mayat is a Pratyaya. Mayat is a
Yeah.
Pratyaya. But Manomayatvam becomes the nature of mind being 100% in itself.
Right. Okay. Just one more question, Binduji. So, saying the word Vijnanamayatvam will not be valid because it's full like Prajnanam Brahma, like that Vijnanamayatvam, abidance in complete intelligence. I mean, not that Shankara has to use that, but if that is used as a word, will that make sense in the same sense, or only Manomayatvam you feel is an inclusion of Vijnanamayatvam as well?
No, Vijnanamaya is also used. It's there in the Bhashya also. Many places it's coming
Okay.
as the nature of the intellectual aspect of it. There is no dichotomy which the mind has got.
Okay.
Not this mind. In
Right.
our functionality of the mind, there is always dichotomy.
Right, Binduji. Yeah.
Whereas when it is Vijnanamayatvam,
Correct.
it is the mind aspect is dropped. It is pure logic of it
Okay.
or pure knowledge part of it. That way.
Right. Okay, I'm making sense of it. Because this is the first time I've heard of it. I don't know while learning it whether we missed such a precious word called Manomayatvam. That's why I dug into it, Binduji. Right.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Prasad.
Thank you, Binduji.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prasad. The care with which you inquire here is beneficial to everyone. So thank you very, very much for that. Let's go ahead. Well, anyone else, as I said before, who was here for the class and would like to speak specifically about this, please raise your hand and come up. And welcome, Venkat.
Yeah, I'll go after Srini. Srini, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Venkatji. Namaste, Bindoji. Namaste, all. So, just
Namaste.
wanted to say, such a beautiful session, Bindoji. Like the other day, you used the word pinnacle of Advaita. I think, this session is like a star session, I think, of the whole Taittareeya, I feel. So, I was like completely getting the vibes of the Bhashya for the fourth Brahma Sutra kind of thing. And it's really the jewels of Taittareeya Bhashya. I think you are just excavating and giving it to us. So such a beautiful thing. So today's session, it gave me the feeling that layer by layer, I think first the baggage of things like Sarvagnya, Sarva with omnipotence, omnipresence. I think that kind of baggage which we have when we are going through Shastras, I think that was lifted, and even the Janma Adyasya Ataha. So I was somehow the vibe was like that Chetushutri class only. So yeah, it was beautiful. I think thank you very much, Binduji. I think today's was a great session. It was very liberating session, I can say. So thank you.
Thank you, Srini.
Yes, I do totally align with Binduji. Today has been a turning point. It brings a lot of things together. Viduji, have you, try to arrange this whole, the coverage you did today um, in this order? And by the way, I heard this one word because I attended a Nandi ceremony for a marriage. In that, Vishnu has been prized for Chidabhasa Sarupa. While we use Chidabhasa for Jiva, the individualization, quite often, while here it used at a broad level, Chidabhasa Sarupa. And now the word you used here is that Sarva Prakasha Samarthena Nivartante. That Sahaiva Manasa Vignanena Sarva Prakasha Samarthena Nivartante. That means that potency is already there, always there, because just the individual mind is that separatedness is not allowing the full availability of Atma Pratyaya. I'm using that word now. Atma Pratyaya, Aham Pratyaya. Aham Pratyaya is individuality. Atma Pratyaya is that potency is now available for the clear mind that doesn't have that separation, Vishaya Vishayi Sambandha Vimuktam. The separated is not there. Now, is this for, it's still Chidabhasa in a way to put it. Because this that the Chidabhasa Sarupa used for Vishnu now makes sense because the full potency was Vishnu. While here, the full potency is also talked about. Can you now validate this understanding, Binduji?
No, I don't understand how you are able to connect between the Chidabhasa potency of Vishnu and here this aspect of it.
Because the Sarva Prakasha Sarupa, when the mind is
Sarva
devoid of
Prakasha here, in this Bhashya, Sarva Prakasha is being used, the potency of the mind to know things, all the things in the Jagrata Swapna Sushupti, all the things are known through the mind. So the mind is the one which illumines the Sarvatvam of the otherness. That is the way in which it is being told here. So Chidabhasa is used in a different context and different purpose altogether.
Then
It cannot be
how do you use
compared to us here.
How do you use Atma Pratyaya? Then between Aham Pratyaya and Atma Pratyaya, both are available to the mind only, right, Binduji?
Yes. This Atma Pratyaya is not to be used when you are having the Atma Vijnanam. See, the moment Pratyaya means there is a word attached to that. Atma Pratyaya means the word Atma. Aham Pratyaya means the word Aham. That is the literal meaning of the Sanskrit words. It is not indicating the pure Aham Pratyaya means Aham, not the self. Not that way. The Aham Pratyaya, Atma Pratyaya means the words Aham and Atma. That Pratyaya means nomenclature or the word. So, what is being here mentioned is that when Sarva Bandha Vinirmuktam, with the words, imagination, ideation or whatever nature of connection the mind till then were having, when it is freed, that is the time it becomes Swabhavikam. That is the time when the mind is pure mind. That is Manomayatvam. Otherwise, the same mind becomes engaged as a waker or a dreamer with the experiences where the pratyayas are coming. Mano pratyaya, Vijnana pratyaya, Vak pratyaya, all those things are being used. So what you are getting confused is you thought Aham pratyaya or Atma pratyaya means purity. No, it is not that way to be understood.
Okay, Bandaji. I think look like that Satma Savigneha is the right way to put it.
Yes.
Okay. Got it, Bandaji. Then it reconciles quite well. The manas, manaso brahma vigna sadhanatvat, that now fall in place. That it gives answer to the ananda in a very, very clear terms now. That shotriyasya that akamahatasya now at all levels is well now reconciled. Now I think this is good, Bandaji. I think there's no further question on this, Bandaji. Thank you, Bandaji.
Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, Venkat.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Venkat. Very, very much for all of our benefit. Would anyone else like to raise their hand and come up? We do have a little bit of time if you'd like to discuss what happened in the class today with Binduji. Go ahead, Srini.
Yeah, a quick one, Bidaji. This was the same thing. I think Venkatji also touched upon it. So the way you explained about the knowing and the ego relationship during the session, so it is indirectly giving a license, right? To meaning not license. It's actually asking you to drop even the concepts like sarvagnya, omnipresence, omnipotence, God. So it felt like that. Do you think that
Yes.
is the way you said it?
Yes, absolutely. Any word you have in your mind as noble or achievable or, keeping in the pedestal, even that is an hindrance or a problem for
Yeah.
us.
Because most of the time the word Brahman is used with a baggage of especially the Janmadhyasya Yataha kind of thing, or even the Shastra kind of thing. So I think that is what felt very nice, that that's why it was liberating, that this has been disconnected. So all these are just attributed to the ego, even if you call Brahman as Sarvagnya or some creator or anything. It is just at so even things like Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, I think you mentioned Aham Brahmasmi and Tattvamasi also, right? So I think that was the really great. I loved that part of it. So that's the part where it is very liberating.
Yeah, all words, any word which you have in your mind, then only you have that absolute purity where there you do not see anything, you do not know anything. Where can you come to a stage where you know nothing? Yatrana anyat vijanati. That word is very important. The Upanishad is using words very, very calculated and measured so that no chance for the listening student to get what you call confused or carried away. But our preparedness is such that we do not listen, we do not hear what the Upanishad is intending us to listen, make us listen. The moment we are listening, we are always getting into that we already know it, and this is what the Upanishad is indicating to us. No. That is exactly what my intent was in today's lecture, was to bring the attention to that level so that our mind is the only instrument we have while alive, while in this waking, where we have all the problems. The solution has to be in the waking. And in the waking, the mind is very much a part of our waker dreamer thing. And it is that mind which is getting under the clutches of avidya. And the moment it is in the clutches of avidya, we have the individuality, the waker, the dreamer, the experiences, the world, nomenclatures, everything. So unless we free that mind, In waking, we cannot find a solution. We don't need a solution. Please understand that. In our true nature, we are all Atman or Brahman. We don't need a solution. But we do not know we are Atman or Brahman. Where in our waking or dream, we need the answer. We need to liberate us from our waking and the dream contamination with which we are living. That is where the word mind of the waker, where this has to take place, so that in the waking we are freed, we are liberated, we become mukta.
Yeah, this concept always fascinated me because especially I remember some bhashya in the Kena Upanishad where the Pratibodha Viditam Padam Amrutatvam, that Bodha concept is coming, right? So, and also there is this, I think probably I'm 90% sure it's Ramana Maharshi who said that all you have to do is empty your cup and the nectar will fill the cup or something like that. So I think earlier, I think 2 or 3 sessions ago also I asked you the similar question, that is there a bodha aspect. Now what became clear is even what the gurus are helping us doing is actually they're helping us to very holistically empty the cup. Not so the bodha seems to be not even the guru bodha seems to be helping us in emptying the cup only, because it becomes like a praptasya prapti kind of thing. So that is like very revealing kind of thing, Vinod, I think in last couple of sessions. I think, that would be the right way to say it, right?
Yes, you are right. Absolutely. Emptying the cup. It is a Zen example which is being quoted very often.
Yeah, because I always thought like we empty the cup and the guru will come and fill it up with something. But now now it made me understand better is even the guru is coming, and because as an individual we can't empty the cup by ourselves. It is guru is saying no, your cup is not still clean. You have to fully clean it, and then the filling of the nectar is automatic. That kind of feeling I'm getting in the last 2-3 sessions. So it was beautiful.
Right. Thank you, Srini.
Yeah, thank
That
you.
was so beautiful,
Thank you, Vinodji.
That was so beautiful, the cleaning out the cup. Not giving us anything, just saying you didn't clean the cup out well enough. That was so beautiful. Thank you. I just want to tell people we did turn hand raising off. This is our normal time to close the room, but we want to go ahead and give whatever time they need to Vivek and Shobha. And if you have remaining things, doubts, questions, about this, you can always bring them to the Q&A for the next class on Friday or on Sunday. So very, very beautiful. Vivek, please.
Are we continuing with this?
Oh, yes.
Or are we
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, you and Shobha
Binduji,
take all the
namaste.
time
How
you
are
need.
you? I think you're okay. I think you're doing good. Binduji, namaste. Binduji,
Namaste.
my question is, I came very late to be because when I reached from office, it is almost 8:30 in the evening. Okay. My question is, this Yato Vacho Nivartande, is this a stuti part? When we have a stuti, we have a upasana, we have other things in when we are, looking through this Upanishadic words. So is this a stuti or a
It is not,
prarthana?
no. It is not a stuti or prarthana. It is a very highly coded message from the Upanishad. Only when you decode it with the help of Shankarabhashya, we can really get to know the direction what the Upanishad is giving us to look for. Otherwise, it may look as if it is a unachievable thing where the mind and the words cannot reach. Then what can we do? We only know word and mind. Without word and mind, is there anything which we can be achieved? That will look like a negative thing. That is not the case. So it is I would call it as a coded message from the Upanishad rather than stuti or prarthana or anything like that.
Okay, Bindoji, just to add to that, if we see the 17th mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad, so Vayuranila Mantra, like that, it goes. I don't, only thing I know is that Basmantam Shariram and Kritaha and Akritaha. It is mentioned in that. So I personally I don't remember that properly. But there it is almost similar kind of the wordings used in both the verses. So there it actually falls into a prarthana or a stuti. But
Yes.
here when it comes, it's not that stuti also. So it actually gives you a different dimension. I would like to
Right.
know the dimension of this. It could be a different way of thinking, approaching this mantra. So that is I actually I love that to be known in that direction. So just to know that.
Yes, it is. It is definitely a different dimension altogether. This is almost like the culmination of the second chapter, Brahmanandavalli, and there the Upanishad is, after having taken us through all the statements from the beginnings, Brahmavid apnoti param, from there it started and brought us to all the way up to here. And in the final, when it is saying that yato vacho nivartande aprapya manasa saha, the tendency for a ordinary reader will be that Brahman which has been told vitil apnoti param, which will take you to the infinity or which you make eternal, is not possible for the word and the mind. Then what should I do? That question can come if the student has not been prepared properly. So that is why it is mandatory that we need guidance from Guru like Shankaracharya to decode it. Only when we decode it, you understand that the real intended meaning of that statement, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasa. Otherwise, we will go to the negative side of it. Thank you, Vivek.
Yeah, thank you, Bijoji. Maybe we can have a deep discussion on this later. Right?
Yeah, we can do it.
It's really fascinating. One Upanishad is saying
Yeah,
something in this, and the same kind of a line is saying somewhere else. So we have to really go deep into it. Because you have said it really good actually. Thanks.
thank you, Vivek. Namaste, Hari Om Shobha.
Hari Om Mhodaya. Like everyone has been saying, and I've been telling you also, it's just these sessions are absolutely amazing. Each one. So, and a follow up on what Srinivas was saying. So, emptying the cup and then it will be filled with nectar. Doesn't that kind of indicate expectation? Is that said in a poetic way? Because when you empty the cup of what was blocking us from seeing the bottom of the cup, just like you were saying, the pond. When you remove the water, you see should it be like when you empty it, you see the bottom of the cup? No, nothing else is needed after that, after the emptying. Is that correct?
It should be the other way around. Shobha, the Guru is saying, the cup is full of space.
Yes.
The student is saying, I don't see it. It is having chai or coffee or tea or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing, you don't see the space? The Guru asks the student. The student says, no, I can see only the tea. Hey, it is full of space. No, there is no space. It's only tea. So they empty the tea, then you will see the space. Right?
No, what correct. So, no, what I was saying was, then it can be filled with nectar was said. So that is
No, that is a
bringing in
poetic. That's a
another.
poet. That's a poetic thing.
That's
Yeah.
what I was referring to. That is poetic, but then it
Yeah.
should not be taken as something else will happen after that.
Right.
Right?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, space is always there, and when the tea is filling the cup, we don't take it as the space is still there. Just seeing the
Yes.
tea, instead of the space. Okay. Then this manomayatvam Hudaya.
Yeah.
So, is this two things? So, this is the asangatvam vishayeshu. Okay, shall we take it like that? After that state is reached, so no attachment, non-attachment to everything that is worldly materialistic, worldly matters, or in any objects. That is what is being referred to, right?
It is that manomayatvam, once you understand that manomayatvam and you are that manomayatvam, you are not separate from it. Thereafter, when the individuality, the world and everything comes, the knowledge of the manomayatvam or that swabhavikatvam or the nature or pure self will help you to understand that the individuality, the world, the I, the waking, the dream, everything is nothing but the same manomayatvam and their appearance in the manomayatvam. That is the beauty of it. It is just like the space inside the pot. When it came, we all thought that the pot has now given us a space to store things and everything. But the space was there even before. And then when the pot came up, we thought that the space has been created for storing. It is true that without the pot, the storing cannot take place. That is Vyavahara. But the condition we put on the space that it is a space exclusively now available within the pot. It is not. It is even when the pot is moved, the space doesn't move from one place to another place. But we think that along with the pot, the space is also moving. No. Along with that pot, if rice or something is there, that is moving. The space is not moving because the movement takes place in the space. Same way, in the Vijnana or that knowledge of Brahman or Atman, Satya Jnanam Ananda, that Jnanam, in that, the Manomayatvam is the Swabhavikatvam. The same Mano-mind becomes the individuality, the world, the dreamer, the waker, everything. That is how we have to understand that.
So we can take this analogy here when a mirror is a little dirty, a pratibimba is still seen, but it's distorted. Not distorted, but some of it is seen, Ishat. Then when it is completely 100% clean, that pure pratibimba, if I can use it that way, is seen. So, and always. So, can we say that here, that analogy?
All Udaharana, all analogy has got limitation.
Right. Yes. But
yeah, within that, if it's understood, yes, then accept it.
With the limitation, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so manomayatvam is abiding. You said it's abiding, the potency to abide in ourselves, always. So, and that comes by, and it was interesting also that Chitta Shuddhi and Manomayatvam, thank you for explaining the difference between those two. So, Chitta Shuddhi leads to Manomayatvam.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Then, okay, so that was it. So, this is not, is this Sarvatma Bhava also?
Sarvatma Bhava is a statement comes after the realization of the Manomayatvam. Then everything appearing in the mind, the individuality is also in the mind, the experiences of the waker is in the mind, the experience of the dreamer and the dream world is also in the mind. That aspect of it is what is will be seeing, that it is in that that mind is not separate from you. You are the mind then, right? When the
Yes.
Manomayatvam comes, you are not separate from the mind. Therefore, in me, which is now the Manomayatvam, I am now taking the role of the individuality. I am taking the role of the waker. I am taking the role of the dreamer and the dream world. Everything is in me. When I know that in me, that Manomayatvam as me, not the individuality of the waker or the dreamer, that is the time when the Sarvatma Bhava will be known.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mahodaya.
Thank you, Shova. Prakash?
Prakash you're able to unmute. Okay, I was going to explain that you've been traveling. Go ahead. Prakash, do you know you're unmuted?
I'm seeing mute on his profile.
Oh, are you okay? My phone is having glitches, so I can't see it. So just so people know, Prakash has been traveling today, and he wanted, me to explain that he probably
Okay.
can't participate, but except for listening. Thank you everybody so much. Everybody's contribution.
Artemisha, can I last 1-2 questions? Just
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Vidya, just contemplating on this cup example more, one clarification I wanted is the only dirt, when we talk about an unclean cup, can we say that only ajnana, samsaya, viparyaya, there are only 3 kinds of dirts possible on the cup, there is nothing else possible? Would that be a right statement, or do you?
Yes, that's it. Everything can be included into the 3 categories.
Yeah, because even if we say desires or karma or anything like that, it all falls in one of these 3 categories, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, I wanted to finish off by saying, so basically what we call Brahmajnana is like a soap which is used to clean these impediments. Do you think that is the right statement? That way to think?
Yeah, you can use that because the soap itself gets worn out.
Yeah.
And the body becomes clean.
Yes,
Or
yes.
I use, my guru, Chinmayandi used to say that your stomach is 100% full. You can't eat anything more. You have a digestion problem. You take a digestion pill, Gelusil or something, for your digestion. Even though your stomach is 100% full, that pill going inside will take care of your, 100% stomach full. That will get digested. So that type of a thing.
Yeah, thank you, Vindaji. Really puts some things into perspective. So thank you very much for this. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Srini. Can we
Yeah,
wind up?
thank you. Yes, we'll wind up. So just to say about this particular class, I highly recommend that people who missed the beginning when Bindaji was talking about how false ideas of Brahman come up and the idea of no individuality at all, except, of course, as was explained as an apparent role. These kind of things answer to a lot of the discussion that happened in the bottom part of the chat. But then I was also thinking it's all of us. Like when Sveta Ketu had to be told 9 times, even if we think we've totally got it, to listen back over and over. And this was absolutely beautiful. Thank you to the people who came up and shared as they did. Vivek, Venkat, Srini, Shobha, not in that order perhaps, but and also Prasad. And thank you, Bindo. I know that we went about 20 minutes over, and it's night in India, and your rest is very, very important. but thank you for allowing us to continue. And again, if people could see me, like I couldn't be smiling bigger. Most of what was being said today, it was very perfect. So thank you for bringing us to this point. Join us again on Friday at 8:30 p.m. IST for the next Taittareeya class. Join us on Sunday to further pursue our questions and discussion of Advaita with Bindaji. And I think that's all I'll say, except Bindaji, what you're doing is so beautiful. And I know that you say that you're just bringing us the message of Shankara, but the bringing itself is such an art, and you're an extraordinary teacher and an extraordinary voice for all of this. So Hari Om Bindaji.
Thank you, Atmisha. Thank you, Venkat, Srini, Shobha, Prasad, Prakash, and Vivek, all people who have asked it. See you all on Friday. We will complete this chapter and move on further. Ganesh Prasad asked me if the cup also dropped after Manomayatam. See that these two are different. I'll explain it in the next class, Ganesh Prasad. See you all. Hari Om. Good night.
Nalbanji, Hari Om.
Hari Om.